That is a killer shirt. Let us all see that shirt. Robert Masla. Hey, you got the color wheel on it. That's really awesome. Well,
Yeah,
Robert, I know today we're not talking anything about color, but we are talking about something that every artist needs to know. Tell us what that is.
I'm going to be demonstrating how through drawing and painting, we can create a sense of distance on a flat surface.
Okay, so you're
And
taking a 2D object and making it feel like a 3D scene.
yeah, opening it up with a sense of depth and many different tools that we use, from the simplest to, at the very end of the session, I'll reveal an aspect of depth that's not often revealed or talked about in teaching.
Okay, so you're going to hold that to the end?
Yeah, the last 10 minutes.
Okay, great. Well, this is going to be great. So now if you're wondering how to make a painting and make it feel like you want it to look like, hey, it's 20 miles away down there or 10 miles away, all the little tricks and tips to do that, that's going to be great. Let's get the show officially started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhodes.
Our guest today is Robert Masla, and man, oh man, is he a good teacher. He is, as a matter of fact, last time we had him on, which was a while back, everybody's like, I need more. And he makes his living teaching, and he is one of the great teachers in the art world. He really understands what he's doing, and he's really good at taking complex topics and making them simple. And today, his complex topic is how to make things recede into the distance. And he's going to show you not only how to do that with painting, but also how to do that with drawing. So that involves things like perspective and color and edges and shapes and a lot of different things like that. Now, we believe anybody can learn to paint, and we're here to prove that to you, because if you watch any 5 of our programs, you will learn to paint. You absolutely will. We believe anybody can do it. And of course, we'll just keep taking you and taking you and taking you to the next level if we possibly can. All right. Sound like a deal? Okay. Let's show you some of Robert's work right now so you can see that he actually knows what he's doing. That is a painting. That's pretty incredible. I think that's down where he lives in Mexico. All right. Do we have any more? Okay. There we have an ocean scene, probably again down in Mexico, and maybe one more. Maybe not. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do, oh, there we go. There we go. We got a little bit of delay in the system for some reason today. So anyway, thank you. Thank you for that. So we're going to get right to Robert and right to teaching. Robert, take it away.
Thank you, Eric. So last time I was here, we talked about using the sketchbook a lot. And then I demoed a painting and a technique for doing that. And I'd gone over some very simple things like thumbnails. So these are some of the ones I did last year at the Plein Air Convention: compositional designs, possibilities that you can work with. This was from the Plein Air Convention. Somebody mentioned that they were intimidated by the idea of a thumbnail. And I wanted to just share a very quick exercise that I've done with students that can help you understand, color is one way of creating a sense of perspective and depth. There's atmosphere, and you often hear, warm colors will come forward and cool colors will recede. And there's a great way of using that. Dull colors also will recede, and we'll get into that a little bit. And of course, the color wheel here shows you warm and cool colors, so you can understand that. But all color is relative to what's around it. But more important, perhaps, in the drawing aspect and also in the building and foundation of your paintings is the values. You hear that over and over again. So if you can do an exercise where you break, say, the landscape into 3 different value shapes, a dark, a medium, and a light, you can create a sense of depth. So, for example,
So what I've done here, Robert, is I've put the value scale for people who don't know what values are. I put the value scale on the screen. So there's darks, mediums, and lights. Okay, now go ahead.
All right, so these are 10-minute sketches. You shouldn't paint more than that much time. Divide the simple thing, place an object or whatever focal area. Usually people like to do the rule of thirds, so you put it in a certain area. Over here, we talked about that last time. But here we have light in the back, medium, I'm looking backwards here, medium in the center, and dark up front, okay? You can reverse that, and it's interesting, here is a warm color in the back. Sunsets always break that rule. There are no rules, of course, just principles. There's dark in the back, light in the center, medium up front. Here's another that has dark in the back, medium in the middle, and light up front. So there's many different ways you can go. Light in the back, dark in the center, medium up front. I did, I think, every variation thereof. Medium in the back, light in the center, dark up front. And finally, medium in the back, dark in the center, light up front. I guess I did that twice.
Nope.
All right. So those are exercises that you could do that in black and white, or you can do that in color. I always suggest working monochromatically at first with one color, so that way you get a sense of understanding values. This is an example here of, a painting where we're using very traditional elements to create a sense of distance. Very soft edges in the background, very light colors. They get a little more in focus as we come forward, darker in the foreground, and certainly warmer up close. And that is a very traditional method to create the sense of depth. So in our drawing, in our sketching, let me move over to the paper here. You have many different aspects. First of all, if you're painting outdoors in plein air, you have to ask yourself some questions. I think I went over that a little bit in our last video. But, one of the first things you should do once you've gotten yourself centered and you've decided what your intention will be, that's the primary thing, and I'll mention more about that later, you have to evaluate what you're looking at. And one of the first things I always tell people to do is take your pencil or brush and hold it at your eye level and try to scan the area, see what is below your eye level and what is above your eye level, because that's going to give you a lot of information of what you're drawing and painting. A lot of people will use the idea of a horizon line. I like the word eye level because horizon and horizon line are not exactly the same thing. Anyway, let's talk about that horizon. That's a distance where the sky meets either the ocean or the land. Okay, now if it is at eye level, which sometimes it is, you have what we often refer to as the principles of linear perspective. And I don't want to get complex here, but it simply means that things in the distance, parallel lines seem to merge. We've all seen this before with the railroad tracks.
So just for everybody's benefit, linear meaning line, perspective created by line.
Exactly. And then another aspect of that form of perspective is diminution of size. So when
can you draw that a little darker?
Sure. Now I'm using charcoal here, so let's make it even richer. So as I do this, I'm going to add another aspect of it. So we have what I was saying, diminution of size. That means things get smaller as they go into the distance.
But interestingly enough, I want you guys to notice that the heads are always at the horizon line.
That's if you're on a flat surface.
Yeah, that's right. So in other words, the horizon line is essentially lining up with your eyes no matter where you are. Now that's different if it's a child.
Yeah. So it's interesting, last year at the Casa this winter, we were talking about the horizon line and the horizon. because from my studio, you can see where the water meets the sky. And we had people sit down, and the horizon was above their eye level. They were looking up at it. Once they stood up, because we're on the 3rd floor, they were looking down at it. So their eye level was shifting. There's our eye level here. There's their eye level there. The horizon line, though, once you establish it, is a fixed location, like Eric was talking about. So another aspect that we can add to this is that of atmospheric perspective. So this area here is going to be darker and also perhaps a little more detailed. And as it goes back, it will get softer and dissolve, grayer, as it goes back into the distance. Say we were having some mountains back here. They would be soft, etc. And the edges here, we will see detail. And as we go further away, that detail will diminish. And so this is true, even, and I mentioned this last time, even if we're doing a still life of, say, a cup, this edge is going to be stronger, sharper, darker than what's back here. It could be dissolved. So even in the matter of a couple of inches, we can create a stronger illusion.
That's even true on a portrait, isn't it?
That's true. Even, from in front of the nose to the nostril. Really is, how you're playing with the edges, crisp to soft, graying things down as if you're working with color. And then the other thing, of course, the oldest form of creating depth is overlapping. All right, so this object is in front of this one. And this one, if we make it a darker object, will move forward, and this one will just dissolve out. So this is another aspect of creating the sense of depth. These are, pretty simple, basic formula. As I mentioned earlier, we talked about warm and cool colors. If this was a person wearing a red shirt here, and this person was wearing blue, that would accent that intensity of depth, of distance, especially if that blue is dull and more gray as it goes further back. The same thing, if you take that red and you begin to dull it out as it goes into the distance, same thing happens. But nature doesn't always follow those rules. As we mentioned before, sometimes the sunset, which is very intense, will be in the back. So you have to employ other techniques to create the sense of illusion of this depth perspective. So, let me show you actually a couple of quick plein air sketches. So this one I did the other day when we had a hint of spring. So again, now the warm colors are in the back, but there are other tools happening that are creating a sense of depth. A little bit of detail here, dissolving what's behind them. This subject is something I've painted numerous times. Again, using, I'm not going to go too far into that. Let's get into the painting.
Okay, if you guys are just tuning in, our guest today is Robert Masla. He's a great teacher, and he's talking about creating depth in your drawings and paintings. So what are you going to do next here, Robert?
All right, I am going to show you what I'm working on. So this image was...
You're going to have to talk louder when you're not facing the camera.
Oh, sorry. Yes, this image that you're seeing, I sketched out last night, was taken from a variety of sketches, plein air painting. I was in Colorado last year in the summer with my wife at a friend's wedding. And, starting off, very simple. Let me move that forward so you can see the delineation of the different planes. This is a very quick, large thumbnail. It's not tiny. It's just, very rapid, showing where I wanted some of the darks and lights. Then I had done a couple of other quick sketches in proportion to the canvas. This is a 24 by 36. So there we go. Taking this sense of the dark middle ground and then moving some light through it. I think this one, the second one I did, actually delineates it a little bit more as to where I'm going with this. And my intention was manyfold in terms of creating the sense of depth, but also using compositional elements to create this. You notice as these trees go back, they get smaller. There's a path going in directional lines, bringing you in. There's also a compositional device, of inverting triangles that hold this as a very monumental object within this, kind of adding stability to this whole scene. So what I want to do is just basically lay in basically block in the colors and the values. I'm using acrylic paint to speed it up. And well, that's where we're going to go. So I'm going to just start off. I'm wetting this down quite a bit because it's going to be, this is an underpainting. So I'll be laying more color over that once it's dry. But that's one of the reasons I like to use the acrylic for this in the studio to help speed that process. So I'm also going to add to this a sense of atmosphere. Let me just get this in. I'm going to add some white into it as it comes down. And this is, again, just a basic blocking in. Let's see. I'm going to have some heavy clouds, and I'm just, again, this is not necessarily the colors I'll be using, but I'm looking more at the values in the rough color of them. Some clouds floating through. In my original drawing, I wasn't sure. And, one of the key things I like to do when I'm painting is be open to improvisation, listening to the paint, what it's telling me. So originally I thought of maybe some light coming through at some point. So that's another thing when you're doing a landscape, I forgot to mention, I did mention in the other video, one has to decide where is the angle of light. Especially when you're painting in plein air, you have to commit to that angle. Otherwise, you're doing what we call chasing the light all over the place. And so that is something that will, I'm pretty much establishing here. I was also thinking of making this scene a little moody. And I might, put some rain coming in from the other side. This is actually accenting in the composition of this opposing triangle. So you Seal of Solomon or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, so somebody asked a question that they said acrylic under oil.
Yes, certainly doable. You don't want to you have to make sure it's fully dry.
Yeah.
And
You can do acrylic under oil. You can't do acrylic over oil.
Right. Of course, the acrylic dries faster, and that's one of the reasons for using it. If you're to try reversing it, what happens is the acrylic will dry faster than the oil, and you'll get the whole thing cracking and not adhering.
Yeah.
This happens to be an acrylic primed canvas. A lot of canvases are. I often, when I'm working strictly in oil, use an oil prime canvas. That way the paint doesn't sink in so much. Um, anyway, I used to do a lot of this acrylic underpainting. Then for many years, I was using alkyds. And there's a painting on the other side of my studio. It's about 9 feet long that I did in the early 1990s. That was all acrylic underpainting and oil on top. Maybe we'll take a look at that later. But
So
anyway,
what's going to happen to all those paintings when you hit that big art studio in the sky?
that's a really good question.
Because I was thinking about, I've got all these hundreds of paintings sitting around my studio that no one will ever see. They'll probably end up in Goodwill.
I know. I thought of that myself. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a painter, and he volunteered to come over and help me burn a bunch of them. If we do look at my studio, I'm in the process of revamping it and reorganizing it. It's a total chaos. He would say it always looks like that.
Yeah, well, that has something to do with your personality.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I'm not organized.
Yeah.
I love chaos.
So anyway, what I'm building up here for this back mountain is a gray, because I want it to fall back. Typically, I'll have a Payne's gray on my palette, or cold gray, which is basically a black and white. It's what you call a convenience color. You don't have, that way you don't have to mix it up. I don't have that in acrylic, so I'm just winging it as I go. There's a little bit of the blue still on the brush, and that's good because I want that to be in there to help push it back a little bit. And that way, if I were to say come in with a cleaner, purer gray, let me grab just a little bit of that against that. You can see it almost looks warm. I don't know if you can pick that up.
Nope, can't.
Oh, well. The cleaner gray against the let me see if I do a bigger patch of it. There you go.
Yeah.
So that feels a little warm.
It looks warm. Yeah.
Yeah. Against
And
that. So,
just for the benefit of the readers, hello, the viewers, there is a thing called warm and cool colors, right? So I'm going to show the color wheel real quickly. So the colors that are warm are at the top here. The colors that are cool are at the bottom. So a color is warm, it's going to be, it's not going to recede as much. If it's cool, it will recede more.
right. Yeah, and that was what I was showing with my shirt earlier.
Yeah.
And so that is the other aspect of, in painting, one of the powerful tools that we have is using color as a way to create perspective or depth, or increasing the sense of distance. Because now what I'm going to do is going to add to this next layer a little bit more of that blue into the gray. And the one thing I love about using an acrylics, you don't have to wait very long to work over them. And when I used to do a lot of mural painting, I always would do it in acrylic because I could make adjustments right there on the spot. And what I'll do is I will add mist on top of this just once it's dry in a few minutes to give you that effect. Again, accenting the sense of distance.
And so you said you're going to do something at the end that's a big double secret thing you're going to teach. Is that right?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. So in case you're wondering, if you're new, you just tuned in, our guest today is Robert Masla. We're talking about creating depth in your paintings and your drawings.
So the next layer I'm going to add will be a kind of a violet color. And this is kind of creating a jump and a barrier here between that great distance and what's coming forward.
But violet's a cool color. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's cool in relationship to what's going to be coming, but it's warm. It's got red in it, so it's warmer than these colors.
Okay.
So it's going to come forward. But
All right.
in relationship to what's going down here, it's still cool. So that's pushing it back even further. So
Okay.
you have to think in terms of layers when we're talking about creating a lot of depth in a landscape painting. And so you don't want to use the same intensity of, say, a yellow here that I would use back here, because it'll flatten the surface. It'll flatten the picture plane. It'll bring this yellow to the same flatness of space as if I put that yellow. Let me give you an example. If I put this yellow, now,
Hard to see that down there.
oh, let me tilt this just a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. If I put this yellow here as pure, and then I put it over here as pure, they're going to tie in together. But if I dull that one just a little bit, I'm mixing a little bit of the violet into it.
Don't do this at home, kids. Don't paint with your fingers.
That's true.
Paint is toxic.
Yeah. So you notice now already a distance created by that.
Yeah.
And so that's the idea of controlling the chroma. Chroma is a word that, we could say the intensity of the color,
Right.
not to get too technical about it.
All right. I'll tell you what, Robert, we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to be right back, and we'll bring you right back. Our guest today is Robert Masla, and we are we're learning about distance. Okay. So this is really good. We love this. This is going to be helpful. I'll tell you guys, today is the deadline. Yep. Today's the deadline. If you're going to go to the Plein Air convention, you really need to go before today. First off, not a lot of seats left. Secondly, hotel is officially sold out at our rate. I think they will sell more rooms in the hotel at their rate, which is double what our rate is. You see, you snooze, you lose. And third is our rate for the convention goes up. And so we got to cover some of our expenses. And so we're raising the price. And so it goes up tonight at midnight. So you want to make sure that you get in there and get that done, because everybody's going. You want to be there. It's going to be pretty cool. So it's Plein Air Convention, Painting in Paradise. We have a little promo. Let's just roll that right now.
Every artist deserves a chance to discover what they're truly capable of. This is yours. Join the world's top painters for 5 days of immersive learning, creativity, and connection in the most picturesque regions of Lake Tahoe and Reno.
I enjoy the scenery, I enjoy the locations, and I enjoy meeting people.
With hands-on coaching, 5 stages, plus daily painting sessions and a community of passionate creators, you'll grow your skills like never before.
It's a wonderful experience. I mean, it's a wealth of information. I got personal instruction from Jacob Aguilar. Do you believe that? I'm so excited.
It's just awesome to hear other people talk about painting.
At Pace, you're not just learning, you're connecting. Build lifelong friendships with like-minded artists who share your passion. This is where ideas spark, creativity flourishes, and your next breakthrough begins.
I would say just go for it.
As long as I'm living and able, I will come to these. Just sign up and go.
Don't wait, seats are limited. Join us at the Plein Air Convention and Expo in Lake Tahoe and Reno. Secure your spot now.
I know you're thinking, I've always wanted to go, but, and that big but is getting in the way, right? But I don't have time, but I'll do it some other time. But, you know the drill, right? And the problem is someday may never come, right? Get there while you can. I'm doing it. I'm going to have a great time. Hope you'll come. pleinairconvention.com. Okay, back to Robert Masla. We're learning about distance. Robert, take it away. Where'd Robert go? Okay. I lost him. He's completely there. He is. Okay. All right.
Okay.
There we go. Sorry about that.
No problem. I'm excited to be at that plein air convention again.
Tell everybody your perspective, because when I tell them, they don't believe me because they know I have skin in the game. You have no skin in the game.
Well, first of all, you always choose incredible locations to paint at, which is wonderful. The other thing is I think one of the highest values for me is the people you meet. Not just the instructors, because there are incredible instructors. In fact, my studio in Mexico, where I teach in the winter, many of them teach at the Plein Air Convention or have been. And, some of them I met there. So that's one thing, but it's also the participants. It's an atmosphere of learning and growth, incredible demos by great painters. And, then there's also the vendors, great time to stock up on stuff. It's a pretty cool thing, I have to say. And you do a great service, Eric, by pulling it all together.
Yeah. Well, once I'm gone, good luck finding someplace to go.
Yeah, right. I say that too.
Yeah.
So I want to point out here, and again, realize this is an underpainting. It's basically laying in information, various details, and fine tuning will happen as I go longer into it and go over it with oils. But there's a gradation happening now, meaning it's going from darker to lighter over here, particularly because the sun is going to be hitting it a little bit more on this side. There's also a gradation from dark to light this way. There'll be some atmosphere and mist coming across here. Gradations, I do this a lot in watercolor painting. It's a great way to move your eye through the canvas or through the paper, and drawing as well. So how am I doing with time, Eric, so I know how to pace myself here?
Oh, you're fine.
Okay, good.
You're just a little over halfway.
Oh, good. All right, so now I'm going to switch up and start using a small.
Are you using a garbage can lid?
Yeah, that's my acrylic. I did this from when I was doing murals, and you could load it up in a nice, pattern of warm and cool.
Well, and it builds muscle. It's got to be
well,
heavy.
It's light. It's actually pretty lightweight. And that's the other thing. It's,
How do you clean it?
With acrylic, you just peel
Okay.
the skins. You can, flop it, which I'm pretty sloppy.
Here, now, why don't you hold it sideways? Hold it sideways so everybody can see it. Okay, cool.
So I've got warm colors, cool colors.
I think that's going to become the image we put on YouTube for our to promote this.
I wish that I invented this idea. I actually stole it. I don't know if Nick Nolte came up with it, but there was a great film way back when. I don't know. It was so long ago. I've been doing it forever. Called Woody Allen film called New York Stories. And Nick Nolte played an abstract expressionist painter. And he used a garbage can for a palette. The lid.
Some producer came up with it.
Huh?
Some producer came up with it.
Probably. I thought it was a genius idea. So I'm going to have another band of dark down here. This is a dark green for the tree lines here.
Notice how he's leaving a little of that fuzzy purple color behind it so it creates a sense of fog.
Yeah, and we'll come back eventually with some white and really build that once that is dried enough. And hopefully, I think I'll have time while we're doing it here.
You guys, if you guys are watching, tell us where you're watching from. Well, I know you're watching, but tell us where you're watching from. I see Sweden in there. I see Alaska. Okay, you guys.
So this row, if we were to talk about the rows of depth, This one's going to have a little bit punchier green. And I will warm that up a little bit. The great green that I like to create, particularly for darks, is a mixture of Prussian blue and transparent red oxide.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that makes a real earthy kind of green color.
Here's a question from Carl S., the great question man. He
Yeah.
always has the best questions. If you lay thick and pasty textures in the background, must you lay in thicker and pastier in the foreground to keep depth in relationship?
That's a very good question. And that's a matter of your own personal intention. So if I were to lay very thick impastos, thick paint in the background, it will attract a lot of attention. Now, there are a lot of plein air painters I know who like to put nice bold strokes and thick paint back there. And what that does, it's a very more contemporary way of painting. It flattens the surface, but they have enough going on that it just accents the abstract a little bit, quality of their painting. But they have enough going on to create the sense of depth even so. There are paintings that, I used to do a lot more of, where I'd actually, particularly in architectural paintings, like the one I was mentioning about on the other side of the studio, where I would use acrylic modeling paste for the architecture and actually build it up about a 1/4 inch thick and carve into it some of the architecture, let it dry, glaze colors over that, and build up that way. But impasto or thick paint is also a great way to create a sense of depth. The edges would be thick and sharp, and back here, soft and blurry. So this is probably dry enough so I can give you a sense of, let me get another slightly smaller brush. So I could use this to both carve out and create a sense of depth. In this particular process that I'm doing right now, most of these layers are going to go on very thin because I'll want to layer on top of them, perhaps.
Well, especially if it's an underpainting.
Exactly.
So do you normally on an underpainting put so much detail in, or do you usually do big shapes?
Okay. If you know my painting from a long time ago, Eric, this would be minimal detail.
Yeah, good point.
I used to paint, kind of Hudson River School style, and
Oh yeah, a lot of detail.
yeah, and also, whoops, got some yellow in there. Look how that pops forward.
Yeah.
I am less interested in painting detail as suggesting it, and the older I get and the less time I have to paint. There is, to me, not a whole lot of detail happening yet. And I will reserve a lot of the detail for what's up here, or in particularly this area here,
Right.
where it will be a focal area.
All
But I
right.
just wanted to show, this effect here.
Okay, good. So somebody told me that wherever a layer meets a layer, you want to put, I mean, it's not a rule, but you can put some fog there to separate the layers and give it even more depth.
That is pretty much what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
But after this layer, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Okay.
As it comes
You told
closer.
me.
Huh?
I said, I guess you told me.
Well, it's also observation. Yeah, on a very misty morning, we'd see mist up here. But, this is fog lifting, storm passing, that kind of thing. Talking about, a little bit of detail. Let's take, say, light hitting here.
So small, it's hard for us to even see it.
Ah. Hmm. Let's see if I can
All
bring
right.
it.
Well, that's all right. Let's focus on the big picture here because we need to.
Okay.
We're going to run out of time, and I know you want to show some of the foreground.
All right. Well, you can see a little bit of that red popping in there. Some building.
You can. We can't.
Oh, you can't?
No.
Okay.
Too far
right.
away. Oh,
All
well,
right.
maybe somebody maybe you can. Tell us if you can see it. Go into the comments.
All right. So next is the brightness of this field where the light's going to be striking. I'm going to use a yellow, but I don't want it to be that strong a yellow. Like what I have, primary lemon yellow is my bright cool. I'm going to add a little bit of white to it. White cools down colors.
Hello, Portugal. Welcome.
All right.
Yeah. Also, as things recede, yellow gets muted more and more and more. Yellow is the first color to get
To
lost
lose.
in the distance.
Yes. So I'm adding quite a bit of white to this. And I'll adjust that more when I actually get into the final painting of it. But again, these are notes. As you're saying, it's not a lot of detail to me. It's just notes at this point. And some of that detail will come later. And then as it comes a little forward, I'm going to warm it up a little bit. A little more pure yellow along with some reds.
Just by doing that, that yellow recedes considerably.
Yeah. And, once we get in some of these trees, I'll probably come back with a muted yellow and, catch light on a few edges where I want it.
Yeah.
It will
Trees
also
don't absorb, most trees don't absorb a whole lot of light unless it's like full color.
Right.
They tend to mute the light. Big deciduous trees do.
And so this will catch just
More.
a couple of edges. It'll also help bring it forward. You notice here,
Yeah.
popping off of that purple because the yellow is a complement of purple. So they're direct opposite, and therefore it's the strongest contrast.
So what he means by a complement is the opposite color on the color wheel. So the opposite of purple is yellow. You see that?
Yeah.
So that's a good way to make things pop, is to put the opposite or the complementary color in there.
And if you mix them together, you dull it. So if I mix a little of that, like I did earlier, little of that violet with the yellow, it dulls the yellow down. So looking again at the idea of complement isn't like, oh, you're looking really good today.
You are looking good though, Robert.
Well, thank you, Eric. It literally means, if we take the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, and you go opposite them. So purple is opposite, or violet is opposite to yellow. It completes the color wheel because it has some blue. I can't do this upside down. It has red and blue makes purple.
Just got white paint on your shirt.
And it creates the complete wheel. Or orange is opposite the blue. It's a yellow and red. It's hard looking upside down to do, and backwards.
Yeah.
And there you get orange. It completes the whole triad of red, yellow, blue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So that's the complementary.
What are you going to do in the foreground right behind that fence?
Over here.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to want this to be a darker green, have a little bit of the yellow in it.
I think you could have sold 1,000 of those T-shirts today. That's
So
the sound of fingers on a chalkboard, that scratchy sound.
So right in here, I should have been using my big brush. Right in here, this little kind of blue-green falls back to to this warmer one. Yeah,
Carl says your color wheel shirt complements your painting. That's a compliment.
well, thank you.
I need sound effects.
All right, there we go. And then up here, as I get more into this foreground, you know, the blue, you know, of course, the green rather is a mixture of blue and yellow. And as I move forward, I want to warm that up. Here it's kind of cool, and there'll be another band of dark green there. But up here, I'm going to have a whole bunch of, I don't know what you would call it. Dirt, mess. Let's just fill that in with a whole bunch. Some of it will be a little bright, but you can see that that's pulling things forward already. Okay.
So notice how Robert's not being too careful about being precious. He's just kind of having fun and laying it in.
Yeah,
that's hard to learn.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Also, improvisation. At this stage, you know, I'll make different changes according to what the paint is telling me. Somebody, I said last time, I tell students to listen to the paint. And somebody said, what? I saw the comment later when I read them. What does that mean, listening to the paint? Yeah. Particularly, I find in watercolor, that's, you know, very important, but because I like the fluid aspect of it. But it's true in any aspect of your painting. It's what is the painting telling you to do? You know, as you're laying in the color, what you're mixing here is never going to be exactly the same as when you put it onto the canvas. So you have to make adjustments. And, you know, there may be other pedimentes, little repentances.
That's a big word, pedimenta.
Yeah. Little
hey, Robert, Truth Seeker 7 says, that's a high chroma purple in the hills. What color is he going to use over that?
I will dull it down a little bit, make it more of like a lavender almost, and probably mix some greens into it to show that it is, you know, trees. But it will certainly have a strong violet undertone to it.
Yeah. All right.
And right now I wanted to put it in just to make that dark really obvious. Yeah. And then, you know, while I'm doing that, let me just, if I have enough color on the palette to do it, I think I do.
Dolores Testerman says, Tucson, Arizona here. Every time the garbage can lid comes into view, I think how hot it would get in the Arizona sun.
Yeah.
Well, you'd be burning your hands.
In Mexico, I use a plastic one.
Ah.
I couldn't find plastic ones here, you know, that are small. They only have these ones for, you know, putting your ashes from your wood stove. But again, that idea of, you know, there'll probably be a little bit of detail in here, not a lot, you know, a couple of twigs sticking out and what have you.
We're going to give you the old 5-minute warning now.
Okay. So
All
does
right.
that give me the 10 minutes to share?
No.
It doesn't. Oh.
No, I guess you need to move to that now. I'm sorry, I forgot.
Okay, let me do
Shame
that.
on me. Anyway, I thought this was a good lesson. Do you guys think it was? Go ahead and say so in the comments.
All right. So thank you, Eric. I always appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share because that's what it's all about. So
Sharing is
Yeah.
caring. We can't see you. Move your camera up just a little bit. There we go.
all right, so we talked about the ways of creating depth, the illusion of distance in a painting. But there's another aspect of depth that I think is equally as important, if not underpinning everything. And that I talked about it the first time you had me on the demo stage at the Plein Air Convention. I don't know if you got to see the video of that. I don't know if even it was recorded, but it was all about intention and improvisation. So I wanted to share with you a painting I did in 1981. All right. So let's see if you can get without the glare.
Yep, got it.
This is a 9x12 watercolor that I did in Antiparos, Greece, of my wife, Monica. We were traveling through Europe. That was over 40 something years ago, before we were married, actually. And this is done on a small arches block. I don't know, did you get a chance when you were in New York? I read about your trip to New York to see the Sargent show at the Met. Did you get to see the Caspar David Friedrich exhibit?
No, I didn't have time. I managed to get to this private showing of the Sargent show because it wasn't open yet.
Good for you.
And then I had to go speak at the American Watercolor Society, and so I barely made it. So no, I didn't.
Well, when I heard about that, I just got so excited because back when I was in undergraduate school in the 70s, I was turned on to Friedrich, and his work strongly influenced me. Of course, it influenced all landscape painting in history. He was the father of German Romanticism. And when I got back some years later, so that was 1981, whoops. So that was a quote of a Friedrich painting. This is Friedrich's painting of his wife at the window.
Okay.
Woman at a Window, it's called. And you notice probably the distant difference in the composition of Monica. Here, Friedrich's wife is totally enclosed within the room and yearning off. If you know something, the thing that made Friedrich so unique was the depth of symbolism that he put in his paintings. He transformed the landscape, like Turner and so many around him at that time, with the idea that painting should evoke emotion. Landscape painting should be filled with the artist's spirit. Shouldn't be just an interpretation of what you're seeing. So there's a depth to that. When I got back a couple of years later, unfortunately, this is a large painting, about 60 something by 50. I did this painting, which is full of symbolism. I was much more symbolic back then. So this is around 1993, I think. But in the corner here, in trompe l'oeil fashion, I painted the illusion of Friedrich's painting.
Yeah, nice.
And so you can see side by side, Monica is not trapped within the room. She's actually outside of the room. The symbolism for me being that, back in Friedrich's day, women were, not much more than household slaves in a sense. Throughout most of history, women's positions has been pretty much dominated like that. My daughters, we were talking, I have two young adult daughters, and we were talking about how it was only in the mid 70s or early 70s that women were in Monica's lifetime allowed to have a credit card in their name or to sign a deed.
Well, I think that was a big mistake because it's gotten very expensive for me. No. So you said you had a specific lesson tied to this because of our timing. Let's get to it.
This is it.
Okay.
The idea of imbuing a sense of personal depth. So what is your motivation to paint this? This landscape? Is there something that that turned you on about it? Was it the sense of light? Turner often referred to light as the divine, as a reflection of that. So many painters throughout history have used, you could read more about the symbolism of this on my website under Spirit.
Robert, Debbie Starling from Pensacola, Florida, says, I'm new to watercolor, about 2 years, and the underpainting is a bit of a mystery to me. Why do it?
Well, in an oil painting, I mean, it's not necessary. And certainly in plein air, I don't often do an underpainting. Like this was done of that similar scene I showed earlier, which was just, fresh alla prima, you know, direct painting.
Wet
It was
on wet.
last fall, wet on wet. But if I'm going to take a painting and I know that it's going to be large and I'm going to have a lot of structure in it, I'll do, as I mentioned, number of thumbnails, some watercolor sketches. I will plan it because, was it Edison has said, not planning to succeed is planning to fail or something like that.
Yeah.
You
When
know,
you
the
have an underpainting behind you, behind your shoulder, a brown painting, it looks like, I can't see it, way back there. Just no, the other side, the other side, way back there. Yeah. So that looks like an underpainting to me.
That is a watercolor.
Okay.
On
So what I was just going to point out to Debbie is that if you were to take that and create an underpainting like that, and then you lay something on top of it, you can leave some of that showing through. It creates a little sense of depth.
Yes, it does.
All right. Robert,
and then the other aspect of the watercolor, you do layer in watercolor, at least 1 or 2 layers. So in a sense, your first wash, that light tea wash, is almost like an underpainting. It's showing you, it's giving you a map of where you're going to go in terms of the lights and the shadows. And that's kind of what I was doing. I was trying to explain how I was dividing this into various planes to create that sense of distance.
Okay. Robert, thank you so much. You've been awesome today. You're a great teacher. We love you. You're getting a lot of positive comments. We'll put your website and all that information in there. Robert's taken a bunch of people down the river in the land of the Impressionists, and he's got 1 seat left. Check out his website. And that's called maslafineart.com. Robert, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Eric. It's always
all right,
a pleasure.
man.
Looking
What a
forward to
great
seeing
guy.
you in Lake Tahoe.
All right. See you in Tahoe. And we hope to see everybody in Tahoe. Don't go away yet. So we've got something else coming up. We got 2 things I'm going to tell you about. First off, if you can't make it to the convention, maybe you can make it to the Adirondacks. It's my Publishers Invitational Retreat. That's going to be taking place right after the convention in June, where we paint for a week in the Adirondacks. And we limit this to about 100 people. We're almost sold out on that. And that's just kind of painting together. We feed you, we put you up, and you just have all expenses paid in one thing. And we take you painting every day. We have a lot of fun. And that's coming up in June. That's at paintadirondacks.com. And then the big deal is Switzerland. Oh, man. And we're going to close this thing out here pretty soon. But Switzerland, we do these exclusive trips. We understand that not everybody can do these. These are for people who really want the best. We stay in the best hotels. We have gourmet meals, take you to the best locally sourced restaurants. And we have local painters who figure out all the great spots for us to go, because if you go on your own, you're never going to find those great spots. And so we are going to go painting every day. We're going to go to Switzerland. We're going to go to Lake Como. And then we're having an optional, we're going to go to Venice. Boy, the brain didn't kick in today. And so we're going to go to Venice and paint. Anyway, that price is about to go up, and it's about to be something that you may not be able to go if you don't get this done soon. And it's going to be a lifetime bucket list trip. And anybody can go to Switzerland on their own, but you can't go with us and do the kind of things we're going to do and have the same kind of experience without going with us. So go to paintswitzerland.com/ASL. Hey guys, we're here every weekday at 12 noon. We love you guys. We're trying to teach everybody in the world to paint. We want everybody to know you can learn to paint. If you watch any 5 programs, you will get it. You'll get the confidence you need. We also, on Mondays, we do marketing. So to teach you how to sell your art. On Fridays, we do feedback. We have guests every day during the middle of the week, like today, like our great Robert Masla. And we would love for you to join us. We have a free gift for you if you would like a freebie. Just go to pleinairmagazine.com ebook. And that's 201 essential plein air tips. It's really good. And if you want to learn about outdoor painting, this is a great book for you. It's freebie, pleinairmagazine.com/ebook. And also make sure that you're a subscriber to this program on YouTube. Then the reason you want to go on YouTube and do it is because we've been hearing stories about some of the other platforms shutting things down, and you want to make sure that you're getting notified on YouTube. So go in there, hit the little bell, subscribe, go look for Art School Live. You know the drill, and you can do this. Go to Art School Live and subscribe. It'd be really cool. Thank you for tuning in today, and thank you to Robert Masla for giving us some insights on depth. It was fabulous. You guys are wonderful. We love having you here. Thanks for being a part of our family. Bye-bye.